Thank you. Thank you, Barak. Interesting. We're proud of the kind of company that you're building, and we'd like many Israeli entrepreneurs to follow your way. Kavod. Today, I want to be talking about not exactly startups and very successful startups. I want to talk about something else that I think the high-tech community should gather around and rally to do. And that is, it's time to rebuilding our country, and it's time to a new deal in our own country and a new deal in the region. I see here Izal Shai, a very good friend of mine. Wonderful to see you here. Alev sheli itcha. So it is 150 days from October 7th, 5 months. And while heroism and courage has been shown all over Israel by so many people, the government of Israel, I'm sorry to say, is still stuck in its ways. 134 hostages are still there. The army is still fighting in the air, in the sea, in the ground, and underground, in probably one of the most sophisticated and challenging warfares that the modern world has seen. The north and the south are evacuated. 300,000 Israelis are refugees in their own country. Moody's and other rating agencies have brought the rating of Israel down because they're not seeing a clear plan ahead. The plan that they're looking for is a plan for the day after. It's a plan not for the military activity, which Israel is doing well now, but it's a plan for the day after to administer and manage Gaza without Hamas. That plan is needed for the army to be able to complete its military victory on the ground. And let's look at IDF. IDF had one of the most serious crises on October 7th. While certain soldiers and commanders and civilians showed a tremendous amount of courage on the ground, the army as a whole on October 7th broke down in its leadership and the ability to contain the attack. We need to understand that. We need to appreciate that, because when the army did, it allowed the army to revive, to come back, to stand back on its feet, to admit the failure, and to come up with a week, 2 or 3 weeks later, with a plan for going forward. And what we're seeing is that we're not seeing the same thing on the political level. After the army was able to contain the things that it did wrong, it is fighting one of the most courageous wars that we've seen in modern warfare across the world. I don't know how many people here realize what it means to face a 600-kilometer terror set of tunnels in a city that when we transferred the money, or when they were transferring the money, $2.5 billion a year, the richest terrorist organization was for building an apparatus of terror in Gaza. And our soldiers are doing an amazing job. It's not easy. Fighting tunnel to tunnel, house to house, place to place, in order to root them out and to allow us to live in a place without a huge terror organization right next door. And the army is also good because it's planning ahead. We understand that the war that we fought now is a war that we may need to fight on a bigger scale again, because we understand that Iran, which used Hamas as a proxy military state, has a proxy military state in Lebanon through Hezbollah, has a proxy military state in Syria in the Houthim, and Israel may have to face it again, perhaps this time ready on a different level. But in order for IDF, for the brave soldiers, for the outstanding heroism that they're showing to win, you need to have a diplomatic hand to come forward together with the military hand, because without a diplomatic hand, without an administration in Gaza, which is not Hamas on the ground, that is backed by Egypt and by the UAE and by the Saudis and by Bahrain and by the Americans, of course, and NATO and the UK and many European countries, without that kind of administration, the people that will give the water, the food, the education, the housing in Gaza have to be a different Palestinian organization than Hamas, backed by Arab countries that we now have an arrangement and agreements with, and with the international community. Israel can't act as if it's responding to that. Israel needs to proactively lead it. And in the north, we, Israel, the IDF, decided not to go for an all-out war in the north like we did sometimes twice in the past. We decided, I was in Beirut many years ago when Arik Sharon decided to go and do what it needs to do in Lebanon. Here we decided not to. But what does that mean? It means that instead of running an endless attrition war, Israel needs to reach a diplomatic agreement, UN Resolution 1701, Security Council, and to move Hamas, Hezbollah to beyond the Litani River. It's possible. There's an American envoy in the region, and that can be done. Once these two things are done, a new deal for Israel needs to emerge. A new deal in the south. And this is where the high-tech community and the civilians of Israel that are showing so much courage need to be involved. I don't know if you recall, in 2011, 2012, we set the cyber hub in Beersheba. It's not far from the Gaza border. There are now 5,500 cybersecurity employees in Beersheba. Yoav Tzuria, one of my partners, is sitting here and was instrumental in building it. We have more multinational companies there than you can imagine. That's the kind of new deal you need for the South, but this time also near the Gaza border, together with the kibbutzim, together with the moshavim, together with the cities of the western part of Gaza. In the north, you remember that we set the Climate and Food Tech Center in Kiryat Shmona. 5 years ago, we now have 125 startups between Kiryat Shmona and Rosh Pina. For those of you who don't know, it's fairly close. It's about 10 kilometers. And we have international companies there. But all of them right now are evacuated. We need to give them a message. A week ago, together with the head of the Innovation Authority, Dror Bin, together with the head of Israel's bank, we were there with 75 startups in the Galilee, in Kibbutz Machanaim, with 30 of Israel's leading funds and impact funds, together with some of the leading mayors and army leaders in the north. And what we were saying to the government, enough. If you're not going to fight the war, if you want to shoot, shoot. But if not, settle in the Galilee so we can start coming home. Because every month that we're not coming home to the Galilee, we are losing 10% of the population. This is important, you should hear it. And the new deal for the north includes Tel Chai College. Listen, we just, a few months ago, passed a resolution. Tel Chai College is one of the loved colleges in Israel. It has 3,500 students. The resolution will get it to 20,000 students in 5 years. Do you understand how big of a new deal this could be to the north? What we're looking for is public-private partnership in the north, public-private partnership in the south, and I want to give you the example of Jerusalem. We set up JVP in Jerusalem. You see the old Mint building in 2002. What happened in 2002? Suicide bombing were going up. Buses were blowing up. Yet innovation for us was a way to bring people forward together, religious and secular, Arabs and Jews. And what we have today is we have, out of 32,000 employees in the high-tech sector in Jerusalem, 34% of the women are ultra-Orthodox women. The Arab community is working with us on education and innovation across the country. We can bring these things together, and I know that some people want to create a religious war in Jerusalem around the Ramadan and in the next few weeks. But we say, let's leave Jerusalem as a coexistence through education, through innovation, through reaching out, and through doing things. Two last slides. And a new deal in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, we've signed the Abraham Accord. So many of our companies, the high-tech sector here, has offices and business in the UAE, some of them in Saudi Arabia, in Bahrain, and some other countries. We have the international community standing with us, ready to work with us. The Arab countries, the moderate Arab countries, ready to stand with us. A next day in Gaza can also be tied to a regional play where we work together in the region on a security alliance between these countries, because on the other side there's Iran, there's Syria, there's Lebanon with Hezbollah, there's the Houthis, there's a bunch of bad people, and we can work together in the region on a security level and an economic level around AI, around healthcare IT, around water, around food tech and climate tech, around cybersecurity. This region needs a new voice with Israel as part of it. Let us take the end of this war and go forward with a new deal for the country and a new deal for the region. And the high-tech sector in Israel can play a major role. You don't have to be the prime minister in order to do it. Each and every one of you is a leader in your own right, and what you do, other people see. So let's have a call for action. Thank you so much.